Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. I'm up this morning. I'm watching a pretty boring Colts versus Falcons game on Sunday, live from Germany. I'm up out of bed a little bit early, but if there's football, I'm going to watch it. But let's face it, this game's not that good. The other night on SmackDown, we're a little bit ahead of the game, but we announced our first round matches that are going to be taking place in the John Cena Invitational, or the John Cena The Last Time Is Now tournament. We're going to be having matches on Monday that were announced last week. We got Damian Priest going up against Rusev, and we've got Shinsuke Nakamura going up against... who is Nakamura going up against? His match is against Sheamus. Honestly, out of those four guys, I don't think either of them are going to be, winning the tournament. Somebody's going to be moving on to the second round, but I don't even really see anybody moving out of that. As names are announced, nothing really has been, groundbreaking, but you got to be thinking that, Randy Orton is somebody that's going to be announced for this, and he's going to be probably a favorite to move through it until going up until the finals. But on SmackDown this week, we had Nick Aldis using the ball machine. As I said last week, we've seen this machine. It better be used for the Royal Rumble, because honestly, that is one of the things that I miss from my youth, is seeing Sean Mooney in a room with the big tumbler full of numbers, and wrestlers coming in and picking their numbers, and you try to read their response of looking at the paper, how they think that it's going to be going down. They used this somewhere in the 2010s during the Royal Rumble pre-show. And the last time that it was actually used on the show was the year that Eddie Guerrero stole the number from Ric Flair, and it was sort of a storyline that went on through the match. But I want to see that at the Rumble. You better bring that thing. We've seen these balls with the red and the blue lights on the side. They got to do it. They have to. It's going to be awesome. But matches that were announced for next week's SmackDown is going to be The Miz going up against Jey Uso, and then we have our first surprise, LA Knight going up against a pick that once Nick Aldis picked it, he basically said that he was going to have to hold on to this one and not let anybody know who it could be. Early thoughts would be that it would be somebody like Edge, Chris Jericho, and a thing that I've sort of pointed out since the very beginning is if the payoff is supposed to be a surprise match against John Cena at the Saturday night's main event, I think you kill your suspense with having this tournament. Yes, they do have their debut. You have their big entrants making their way to WWE after we haven't seen them in years. But each and every match where they're wrestling guys like LA Knight, The Miz, sort of non-dream style matches, you kill your suspense. Yes, once you get there, you have a big moment at Saturday night's main events, but somebody's fourth match back in the company is not going to be as big as their first match in there. So first match for SmackDown, looking at Jey Uso going up against The Miz. Jey Uso and John Cena, I think their whole storyline would have to be, I think the Usos helped out John Cena a time or two on Monday Night Raw, and maybe we had some six-man tags or something like that, but it would have to be straight kind of like the Bloodline when John Cena would show up and be around. I don't think there's really a huge connection between the two, other than, Jey Uso is an emerging superstar here in 2025, as John Cena is going to hang up the I don't even know, Nikes? I don't even know what kind of shoes he wears. Hang up the tights? I don't really know what you say, because he's not a guy that wears the boots. He's not going to be taking his boots off and leaving him in the ring Undertaker style or anything like that. But Jey Uso is somebody that really is benefiting from John Cena leaving. It leaves like a space at the top of the card for him to fill. The Miz is a character, honestly, that you can kind of look at and you're like, dang, like 15, 16, I mean, he's not at 20 yet, but as long as this guy has been on the roster, we got to kind of wonder, like, how this guy is here, how the heck he's still around. He had so much upside, when he was first getting his first real singles push in WWE, it was going up against John Cena. He kept on having these fluke victories. I remember I went to the Bash 2009. That was a long time ago when they did Miz versus John Cena, and Cena just basically squashed him in that match, and it really didn't make any sense at the time. But once the Miz caught ground, he won Money in the Bank. He used his Money in the Bank to basically, become the WWE champion when he cashed in on Randy Orton. Huge surprise. People kept on saying, well, he'll lose it next month. He'll lose it next month. And he was the champion at freaking WrestleMania 27, and he wrestled in the main event against John Cena. Miz always found a way to, like, keep himself in the game, whether if it was being a tag guy, whether if it was going after the Intercontinental title, going after the United States title. He captured the title again in 2020. A lot of us don't really remember it because the world was standing still at the time, but he is a two-time WWE champion. You got to put some respect on some name like The Miz. He is going to be a WWE Hall of Famer when it all is said and done one day. But at this point, he really has nothing going on besides for the Carmelo Hayes of it all. Is the only kind of storyline where The Miz kind of was being Carmelo's manager, and then when Carmelo started getting some wins and getting a little bit of a push, The Miz, tried his best to put him in the ground, so they've been kind of like beating each other up for the back. I don't even know if these two have had a singles match, and they've been beating each other up for a little bit. When it's all said and done, I mean, I know that, John Cena respects the hell out of a guy like The Miz, and I'm sure they're friends, this, that, and the other, and they appreciate the time in the ring that they had together. I guess it's just not meant to be. Not even for a SmackDown, not even for a Raw, because when it's all said and done, Cena only has 4 appearances left. He's going to be on Raw in Boston, Raw at Madison Square Garden. He's going to be at the San Diego War Games, and he's polishing off in Washington, D.C. with the Saturday night's main event. Jey Uso's got to get the win here. I don't think that he's somebody that's going to win this tournament because of the fact that he's going to be mixed up into the War Games of it all and being a favorite to go into the Royal Rumble in January. But I don't know. It's just one of the matches that are going to be in here. When we look at the LA Knight match, LA Knight going up against a mystery opponent, the big question has to be who the mystery opponent is going to be. Is it going to be somebody from, AEW? It's like Tony Khan going to reach out and basically say, hey, John Cena is one hell of an act. When I was a kid, I really appreciated him. This is something that a lot of people are going to remember for a long period of time. Maybe this is some way that we can bridge the gap between AEW as well as WWE. Is it going to be somebody like Edge coming in? Is it going to be somebody like Chris Jericho coming in where they get to, get that last chance WWE run before they go back to the company, and maybe they just stay where they are, and it's kind of like a good faith between Tony and the wrestler that we're always going to be looking out for you in the long run. I don't think there's a chance in hell that that's going to be happening. WWE has done everything in the world to try to roadblock, whether it's putting up a TNA show against a Dynamite, whether if it's, AEW scheduling a pay-per-view and then all of a sudden a Saturday night's main event or an NXT takeover just gets scheduled on the same day. I think that we're going to see Adam Copeland / Edge in WWE once again. It's not going to be sooner than later, but I think when it's all said and done, he will go down as a WWE guy. Chris Jericho is going to be in WWE, honestly, sooner than later. Everyone is kind of pointing at the Royal Rumble maybe we get some sort of a surprise with the Saturday night's main events popping up here and there along the way, and they try to use him as soon as they can to let him be a favorite for people to pick for the Royal Rumble. I just don't see him being in this tournament. When it comes to looking at who the surprise is going to be, would Nick Aldis use Randy Orton as a surprise? Orton versus Cena is a match that has been run on pay-per-view. I don't even know. If I was to guess 40 times, I think that honestly I might be wrong. It might not be like a ton over, but I think definitely has a fact of being more than 40. It definitely is more than 25, which was the first number that I was going to say. But I don't know. I think that honestly, Orton might be a name that has kind of like played out because of the fact we've had that so many times. But we saw this match at Backlash after WrestleMania in St. Louis. A lot of people were heated up. And when Orton slid in the ring at the Raw after WrestleMania and hit Cena with the RKO, it was on. That was the match that people wanted to see. I thought I was going to have enough time, but I got ran in on by the end of the Walmart trip. But I think that Randy Orton definitely is a guy that would be a favorite to win the whole deal. But we got to look around at other companies. I don't know if they're going to use Matt Cardona. I really see them using him on the Raw at Madison Square Garden, which means I think he would have to be announced as one of the matches that they're going to pick on Monday. I think that they're going to remember the Survivor Series. I believe it was 2011, where they did Rock and Cena against Miz and R-Truth, and basically they were all chanting, "We want Ryder, we want Ryder," and they were chanting it at The Rock. I think that honestly he could get that response from the wrestling crowds of Madison Square Garden in 2025. I don't care if you think I'm crazy because I'm a fan of his podcast or I'm a fan of his wrestling. I don't know. I think they know that he can come in, he could do a job, and it would be a monumental thing, and I think it would mean something to him as well as mean something to Chelsea Green, and then who knows, it might even turn into such a big response that they do bring him back, and he's a part of the Raw roster. Where he fits there, I'm not really 100% sure. You got to think that you're looking over, are they going to bring in somebody like Trick Williams, somebody from TNA, somebody like Joe Hendry? He has to be having his contract run out with TNA, and is he going to become a real WWE superstar? Joe Hendry is somebody that wrestled at WrestleMania. It wasn't a big, huge match, but somebody had to fill in against Randy Orton as a surprise opponent. And the one person that was kind of like brought up, like, if we don't use Joe Hendry, could we use this person? But this person wasn't really ready to come back to WWE, which is kind of crazy, seeing how he was somebody that was just publicly, we'll say, released. But I think that honestly, when Jeff Hardy was let go by WWE, he was kind of fired. They didn't want to send him to work in AEW with his brother. That was something that they were trying to keep apart, but at the same time, they weren't really using him in WWE at the same time. But he is somebody that has flown off the edges a few times, and when you lose this guy, you lose him, and you don't really know when you're going to get him back. But I could see Jeff Hardy as somebody that comes in and wrestles this match against LA Knight. And LA Knight is somebody who's kind of used as a semi-main eventer on Monday Night Raw. He's filled in. And I can see him actually losing this match to Jeff Hardy. So as of right now, those are kind of my picks, who I think is going to be the surprise person to face LA Knight. Jeff Hardy is my number one. I would pick LA Knight as my number two. And I basically, my number three to finish out my list would be anybody from the NXT roster that they felt that they were ready to bring up for one match. I'm not really 100% sure because I'm not watching NXT thick and thin. But for a surprise, I think that's the best that they can do. Jeff Hardy versus LA Knight.